Two elite drivers, two separate incidents, two broken bones. One young driver fell from a door rail celebrating in victory lane. Another racing veteran slipped in a parking lot while skiing and broke his leg. Now, here's the question nobody asks. Was it just bad luck, or was it a deeper signal? Because bones don't just break in isolation, they break inside a biochemical environment. Yeah, welcome back to the program, and I'm grateful that you're here. These are elite athletes I mentioned. They're conditioned, they're strong, they're resilient, and this isn't about blame, this is about biology. And today we're about to explain why. You see, champions track things like lap times, tire wear, telemetry, fuel ratios, but rarely do they track calcium metabolism, or magnesium status, or phosphorus balance, or heavy metal displacement. And yet, those determine your structural resilience. You see, the truth is, bone is not cement. Most people think that bone equals calcium, but bone is a dynamic tissue. It remodels constantly. That means every 5 to 10 years, you have a whole new skeleton. Most people don't realize that. And this remodeling requires, yes, calcium for its structural component, but it also requires phosphorus. And the phosphorus actually pairs with calcium to form something called hydroxyapatite. And then also magnesium plays a crucial role in this. And we're really going to tie this into magnesium in a few minutes in the podcast here. Magnesium regulates calcium placement and prevents improper calcification. This is very, very important, not just for your structural integrity, but also for cardiovascular health, which could be a completely different episode in the future. And then also, this remodeling requires vitamin D3 and K2. This is direct calcium to direct the calcium into the bone where it belongs. And then also requires things like trace minerals such as boron and zinc and manganese. Think of it this way. If calcium is the bricks, then magnesium is the site supervisor. So with magnesium, calcium, or I should say without magnesium, calcium deposits improperly. Bones become more brittle and muscles can tighten, and reaction time can actually drop from a magnesium deficiency. Magnesium deficiency is the unspoken leading cause of osteoporosis. But most doctors don't know this unless they've done postdoctoral education, because orthomolecular medicine, this is the science of vitamins and minerals, is not taught in medical schools. And now that I've said osteoporosis on this podcast, we don't claim to diagnose, we don't claim to treat, and we don't claim to provide any medical advice whatsoever. But here's the kicker for drivers. Chronic stress and adrenaline burn magnesium aggressively. Also B vitamins, but that's a topic for another show as well. So I want to talk about for a moment the stress and mineral relationship. This is very important because high performance athletes, they live in what's called the sympathetic dominant state. So this is your fight or flight state, and this can come from competition stress. It can come from travel, it can come from media pressure, the training load, caffeine, dehydration, and all of that increases magnesium loss, sodium potassium imbalance, which we'll talk about in just a minute, and of course, calcium dysregulation, which can lead to broken bones that probably should not have been broken. Now, you can train hard, you can eat clean, but if you're burning through minerals faster than you're replacing them, the structure suffers. Not dramatically, but gradually until one slip becomes a fracture. Now, let's break down something very specific here. I want to talk about the calcium and phosphorus ratio. This is a problem. This is where we separate from surface level nutrition and we get into high performance health. Bone strength is not about total calcium, it's about the calcium to phosphorus balance. It's also about the calcium to magnesium ratio. And it's also about tissue mineral placement. You see, too much phosphorus, common with high protein, so think people on the carnivore diet, or processed foods, so think of, racetrack food, of course, things like soda and energy drinks. These can all pull calcium out of the bone. They can also alter parathyroid signaling. They can reduce structural density over time. And, you might be thinking, Jeff, wouldn't my doctor see this on my blood work? Well, most labs measure serum calcium, which is your blood calcium. Serum calcium rarely shows deficiency. And the reason is this, because the body is highly intelligent and will actually rob bone before it lets blood calcium drop. And that is performance physiology. Now, the next thing I wanted to discuss here is heavy metals and bone integrity because there's a direct correlation here. And here's the unappreciated truth is that heavy metals compete with minerals. So lead displaces calcium. And you might think that lead toxicity is a thing of the past when, we were little kids in the 70s chewing on windowsills and having, fueling up our cars with leaded gasoline. But lead is a natural element in the earth and it is prevalent in so many places to this day. It's not just in paint of the past and gasoline of the past. Also, cadmium. Cadmium interferes with bone metabolism. It's a very key point here in today's episode. And then aluminum, the most prevalent heavy metal of all, alters mineral binding. Very, very important. So, if toxic metals are present, which they are in the garage and racetrack environment, the mineral system will compensate, which is why guessing with random supplements can actually miss the mark. You don't throw more calcium at the problem, you assess the terrain. And we all know that champions run on diagnostics. This is really the transition here. When a car has a failure, we don't add parts randomly. We plug in diagnostics. And the same with the human system. And that's where at home advanced mineral and metals testing comes in. And actually, the if you're watching on video, I just my test that I ordered just came in today, and I have to wait a few weeks to grow my hair out to be able to run this test. And I just kind of gave away how this test works, but it's called the hair tissue mineral analysis. And it doesn't diagnose disease, but it shows data that we can actually apply. Things like calcium status, like magnesium utilization, phosphorus balance, sodium to potassium ratios, toxic heavy metal burden. 5 toxic heavy metals it looks at: lead, cadmium, arsenic, mercury, and aluminum. Very, very important to understand those. And it also measures adrenal output and stress patterns. This test gives so much information to a trained clinician like myself, who can interpret these lab tests. But the amazing thing is anybody can run this lab test, meaning anybody can order this and have it done. And what this does is it uses, well, we'll talk about how it works, but it gives a snapshot. So like a 3-month window. So it's not just a snapshot in time of today, like blood serum would do, or, in integrative health, we also use blood spot or saliva testing. And that usually is a pinpoint in time, but this is a 3-month window of basically a metabolic blueprint for what's going on in your body, how your body is responding to stress and handling stress, the amount of stress in the body, and how the body is adapting to that stress. And this is done with a simple, small hair sample to see what the body is pushing out into the soft tissue. Now, you might be thinking, Jeff, this sounds like voodoo. You're using a hair sample to understand my mineral balance, but this is nothing new. This has been used, it's been a staple in advanced integrative testing since the 1960s. These are CLIA certified tests, which it probably means nothing to you, but it is the gold standard in laboratory testing. You just by using a small hair sample. And the best part is that it can be done right at home or right at the track from your motor coach. This is not hype, that is data. And once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. This is precision where precision becomes possible is what I was trying to say there. So I just want to segue into what we do about this. So once we get the data, now what do we do? And this is where science-backed supplementation comes into place. This is an important distinction because I'm not talking about supplement stacks. I'm not talking about influencer powders. I'm talking about strategic replenishment, highly absorbable forms of magnesium. Of course, we should always be starting with a daily activated multivitamin. So, not a store-bought multi that you get at your local pharmacy or big box store. Like that stuff is focused on profit over people. And honestly, the ingredients are very inferior and in a lot of cases are causing more harm than good. I'm talking about functional medicine grade supplementation. So after the multivitamin, and according to the lab results, we would be using highly absorbable magnesium forms, as I said, balanced calcium support only when appropriate. Vitamin K2 and D3 synergy, very, very important, trace mineral restoration, and targeted and safe detox support when those heavy metals are present. And I say when they're present, almost every minerals and metals test that I've ever run has some elevated levels of those five toxic heavy metals until we do that targeted and safe detox support. Now, supplements should always match the advanced lab findings, not what's trending on social media. Anything else is simply guesswork dressed up as wellness, and that's the honest truth. So, this episode, I'm not saying that these fractures in these elite athletes should not have happened, but I'm asking what signals preceded them. Because elite performance, it's not just horsepower, it's resilience, and resilience is biochemical. So if you're the kind of athlete, a driver, a crew member, a high performing team owner who wants to ensure your structure matches your ambition, it's time maybe to look beyond the gym, look beyond calories, and look at your mineral economy. The high performance health team over at victorylanewellness.com can help you dial in your peak performance because the strongest chassis still fails if the structural integrity is off. So, final thoughts here: bones don't break randomly, they break in an unbalanced environment. Optimize the environment, and you've got high performance health that lasts. This is Breaking Boundaries for Champions, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.